Welcome back to Dr. Sellers Educate. We're happy that you're back to support you on your journey to achieve certification as a nurse educator or possibly to renew your certification. Whatever your focus is, as you tune in and check out our episodes every single week, we're happy that you're back. All right, so go ahead and subscribe to our channel so you can be notified every single time a new episode is published, which usually happens every week. The next step we want you to take is go ahead and print out that study worksheet. Okay, there are two resources that you need in front of you. Number one is going to be the study worksheet. That's where you're going to print that out, write today's date that you're watching this snapshot, as well as write down the objective that you want to achieve by the end of the snapshot. Okay, resource number two is Billings and Halstead Teaching and Nursing. This is a primary resource that's going to help you close your knowledge gaps, or it can be a great resource as you not only continue on the journey towards certification or renewing your certification, but also just a really good resource to help you better understand some of the teaching strategies that are aligned with the evidence or evaluation strategies or even curriculum. All right, so it's a great resource. You do want to make sure you have the 6th edition of Billings and Halstead. Right here in the description is where you're going to find more information with that full citation of Billings and Halstead, as well as a link to the study worksheet. Okay, so those are the two resources you need in front of you. This is now, I think, our 5th episode in our series focusing on learning theory, and there's a reason why we produced this series. First is because we know many nurse educators are still unclear about learning theory, okay? It's really important for us to understand the why behind our teaching strategies as we work on developing a very rich experience for our students, okay? So that's reason number one. Reason number two is because it is a competency area that is included in the detailed exam blueprint quite heavily. And it's also a competency that we must maintain as we focus on renewing our certification. Okay, so that is why we want to make sure that you fully understand some of the key concepts related to learning theory. In this episode, we're going to be talking about sociocultural learning theory. Is that a common one for you? If it's not, and if you're not exactly sure what that all means, you're in the right place. Specifically, as we take a look at this learning theory, there is one learning theorist that we want to bring to your attention, and that is Lev Vygotsky. Okay, they are very well known, very published as it relates to this specific learning theory, sociocultural learning theory. Some of the key tenets that we want you to make sure that you fully understand related to this work is going to be tied to our thought-provoking question. So let's take a look at that first. We have a novice nurse educator that has attended a conference where they learn about the need to integrate evidence-based teaching strategies and set this as a goal for themselves. When returning to the classroom, a student is struggling with aseptic technique. When planning how to help the student, which teaching strategy is going to best align with this theory? A, assign reflective journals every week to explore thoughts. B, provide scaffolding of learning until reaching mastery. D, adding discussion forums for complex concepts. Or D, open book exams that are assigned throughout the course. All right, so let's talk about the process steps that you should take if you're taking the CNE exam to help you further explore what the best choice is. The first step is taking a look at the question and thinking first and foremost, what is it that I know for sure related to this question? Okay, so when you look at it, you may be unclear about what sociocultural learning theory is all about, but you want to break down some of the key concepts that you're confident about as it relates to this concept. So first, what are the concepts that I know for sure related to this theory? And second of all, you want to think about what is the question asking me, okay? And what do I know for sure related to that specific content area? Okay, so even if you may be unfamiliar with the theory, perhaps there is some component that rings a bell or triggers a specific area of knowledge that you may have. Okay, so that's what you want to do. And then you can go ahead and pause this episode, or you can continue to review this snapshot, and we'll talk about the best answer as we wrap up our time together. So the next focus for our content is the what. So what is this theory all about? What does it mean? Why is it important? There are 3 key areas that we want you to focus on as you study to close your knowledge gap. First is that the learner is supported by a senior leader, whether that's an adult or a teacher. It is someone that has a high level of knowledge related to this. For our purposes, it would be a clinical practice, okay, or a concept. Second, the support usually includes role modeling or clues that the teacher or adult is providing to our learner. And third is that main underpinning, which states that real learning occurs in the zone of proximal distance, okay, or ZPD, you may hear it called. So that zone of proximal distance is going to help our learner better understand some of these key concepts that we are talking about and that we will help them build on as they progress towards a level of mastery. So again, it's the zone of proximal development or the zone of proximal distance that you may hear it called interchangeably. Okay, so what does that mean and why is that important? And how do I align or integrate some of these key concepts that we're talking about with the teaching strategies and the learning experiences that we're creating for our students every day? Well, first and foremost, we want to point out that content related to this very important learning theory is going to be found in chapter 14 of Billings and Halstead. If you want to go ahead and take a look at page 254, that is where you're going to see more details related to sociocultural learning theory. All right. So specifically, there are three categories that you want to consider to align and integrate into your teaching strategies. The first is going to be cognitive self-instruction. Simply says that the learner is responsible for being self-motivated and for having some sense of awareness of where their gaps are, where the resources are to help them close their gaps, okay? And second, our responsibility, again, as the adult, as the teacher, is to assist the student in their learning. And then that zone of development, that zone of proximal development says that I learn from others. And you can see here that there's observation that's happening with this interaction where you have a group of learners that are learning how to play a game or how to complete a task or an assignment, but they're learning from each other. They're having conversations. We can assume to further explore possibly some muddy points that one of them may have. There's demonstration that's happening as well. Okay, so those are three of the categories that we want to consider and that we should integrate into our teaching strategies when we think of sociocultural learning theory. All right, so as we wrap up, let's take a look at the best choice for our thought-provoking question. It is going to be B, which is provide scaffolding of learning until reaching mastery. Content related to this best choice is going to be on page 254. Where you will find a description of the specific areas, three areas, which are cognitive self-instruction, assisting learning, and that zone of proximal development, and that it is our responsibility as the teacher to engage with our learners in a way that is going to help them determine when they reach a point where they cannot solve their own problem independently. You know, they've taken the first step, which is that self-instruction part. They've looked at the references, they looked at the resources, and it still is a muddy point for them. Our responsibility as an educator is to connect with them in a way that's going to help them clarify questions and close their knowledge gap, right? We're helping them solve the problem and reach mastery by clarifying questions or perhaps even demonstrating a concept, okay? So the reason why A, C, and D are not correct is because these are all independent practices that would not really best align with sociocultural learning theory. Could it be that a discussion forum would allow students to learn from each other? Absolutely. Could it be that reflective journals will allow the learner to really reflect on their individual practices or changes that they may make? Perhaps, but the best choice that aligns strongest with the sociocultural learning theory is going to be the scaffolding of learning until the student reaches mastery, okay? So I would say if you did not choose B, I don't want you to stress out about it. Just go ahead and flip over to page 254, and that's where you're going to take, I would recommend about 30 minutes to further explore the concepts related to sociocultural learning theory. And then if you have other questions, you can reach out to us. We are launching a new weekday boot camp, okay? And that's going to be on May 3rd, if you're watching this episode when it's released on Sunday. So that's going to give you an opportunity during the week to connect with us for an hour. There is one contact hour that will be offered as long as you stay the entire time. It will be recorded, and you also have to complete the evaluation. Okay, so you will be eligible to earn the one contact hour as long as you meet those two requirements. And you also have a 7-week free trial period, okay, for our monthly boot camp. And we have had weekend boot camps for over 2 years now, but we are responding to the requests that we have received from you all, and we are now launching a weekday boot camp. So hopefully we will see some of you there. All right, so let's go ahead and wrap up with our last slide. This is just going to give you some information of how to reach out to us. Again, info@drsellers.educate.com. Or you can reach us and find out about all of our programs on our website at drsellers.educate.com. All right, so this is going to conclude our snapshot for this series, focusing on learning theory. We hope to see you next week, and we will continue to talk more about learning theory, and we also will dive deep into pedagogy, narrative pedagogy, and storytelling, and the impact that all of these great teaching strategies can have in helping our learners connect the dots and have a better understanding of concepts. Until next time, have a great one, everybody. Bye-bye.